How is it good to be dangerous?
Because it makes you formidable. And life is a very difficult process, and it's not for, you're not prepared for it unless you have the capacity to be dangerous. That doesn't mean that you should be cruel. It doesn't.
Agreeable and unagreeable. There's two types of men. Which one do you think I want to call a pussy? The left. You're correct. Why does this matter? This is what being logical is. As a young man, we're logical and we always try and understand things and try to educate people, especially when that's what we've always been taught by family and schools. Being the bigger person, questioning adults is disrespectful. Schools rewarding students who follow instructions and be cooperative. The nice guy trope, being kind, over-reliable and over-helpful, is being a good man. So we try and argue with logic when we want something, as if we're filing into a government complaint system, or we're explaining to our boss why we're 10 minutes late. We present facts and logic, and we'll get what we want, right? I'll tell you right now, that's not how the real world works. Because doing that always means you're always presuming the person in front of you is rational or reasonable, and that just isn't the case. Growing up, I was your classic kid. Asian parents always told me talking back to elders is disrespectful. Parents always told me to be the bigger person. They used to sit me down and make me study math every day until one of them teardrops came on the paper. I know you know about that. Every ethnic kid knows about that one. Good old days, man. But yeah, I was a smart kid. And so teachers always had this weird high standard for me. And so I naturally tried to meet that, always in a more nerdy kind of way though. Because although I begged my parents, they never had any interest in sports. And they never put me into any sports. And so I was naturally more cooperative and followed teachers' instructions and tried to be the best in math and stuff. In secondary, I was still like the average kid though. Got in trouble for disruption and stuff, but never like those YNs or something. So I was always lumped in this kind of growing up boy mentality by everyone. And part of that is always trying to be the bigger person and kind of people pleasing, which I really had to unlearn. And I remember always thinking that everyone in the world would be like me, reasonable. And it's just not true. And when that eventually come true, like a lot of times when talking to my parents, they promised me something that meant a lot to me and they just didn't follow up on their word, or on the rare occasion where my friend supported me or something not followed up on what he promised, I always felt punked, like really punked, because I always felt like I would follow up on my words and promises always. But when it really matters to me, the world didn't. When you feel punked as well, it's this sick kind of inferior feeling, like you're helpless. It wasn't until I grew up I realized in the world, you can't expect anyone to follow up on their promise. If they do, that's great, but once they break it, you should just kind of discard them from your mind until they prove otherwise, because it tells a lot about them as a person. It's just a messy person. Like friends will do it to me now, telling me they'll do it today, they promise tomorrow, and it generally doesn't bother me because in my head, and this is going to sound rough, I've already allocated them as a bit of a loser, at least when it comes to keeping their word. If you're going through something like I did, where your parents just have no honor, they look at you as this kid who they don't need to be their best with and to be fair with, and for lack of a better word, just treat like shit, what would you do? Because it's right, they feed you and clothe you because they love you, but their word has repeatedly been shown to mean nothing. You gotta stop believing their word from now. So someone's word you know is meaningless, how would you treat them? Would you be all logical and stoic and pray they follow up on what they said? And if they don't, you remind them, but you promised, screaming like a little bitch? Or would you just give them one chance and going forward, if you want something, you just do it and deal with the repercussions later? Because let's be honest, a fight's gonna happen anyways. They're getting pissed anyways, because what means a lot to you is just probably looked at some gay meaningless shit to your parents. And so naturally they get pissed and agitated when the discussion for this keeps on going on. So why go through all that shit, reduce yourself in your parents' eyes because they're looking at you like a little bitch? And why not just go ahead and do the thing which you think is really good for you, like buying some course when you have the money for it. I don't sell a course yet, by the way. Money you made from working a retail job probably, and go buy that boxing membership or gym or whatever you want. Because I'm assuming you're a smart guy if you're listening to me, even if you're younger than 16, so you ain't got the money, and you ask your parents for, let's say, some MMA club or football club, and they say they'll do it later. You know their word's flimsy. Stop believing that shit. Drag their ass to the laptop and buy a button and force them there and then to do it. You see what's forming? We're getting rid of this over-reliance on parents and their flimsy word and just start being truly independent. Not that gay shit parents or teachers say where you go in and clean the dishes or do the extra work in school and they call you independent for that. And if you still believe that, I can't help you. But true independence, where you're sort of fending for yourself and learning by doing actions you haven't done before. Only thing you can control is yourself. You can't rely on anyone else to do anything for you. Not every parent is good, and the ones who aren't, if you continue to play into their games, be logical, try be civil, it just won't work. You have to flip the proverbial board or table, so to speak. Another downside of being raised in this logical way is when I'm in an argument with friends or people, I used to resort to this logical way of thinking, and that if I broke down my argument clear enough, that the other person will understand. Gay. Holy shit, how gay is that? Look, most times people do not care. So I'm not saying you have to resort to name calling or some petty shit, but realize that being 100% logical in your speech will get you nowhere. You have to appeal to an emotion side more. And in some cases, appeal to the audience of people watching you two argue more. And ironically, a perfect example of this is rage baiting. Rage baiting is beautiful because a person arguing with you will take it seriously when the whole audience around you realizes you don't care, and this will automatically cause you to win arguments in the eyes of others. Again, you can't argue logically with your parents. You just don't want to hear it. And as said before, the only way to combat this is by doing what you want and deal with the consequences later. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe and do comment if you got any questions or issues you want me to answer, because I'm confident I've got the best solution for any of them. Peace, motherfuckers.